Next thing we're going to look at now is common size statements, common size income statements specifically. So we're on activity 30 here. And with common size income statements, you divide all figures by total sales revenue. And what this allows you to do is to compare different companies' results. Even though those companies are different sizes, you can still compare their common size income statements because they're all based on the same figures. And in every item, you divide every item by total sales revenue for that company in that year. So try that right now, and then in a moment, we'll go over it. Okay, so for Lenovo, for example, 16,605, and that's 16, by the way, we know the three companies, Lenovo, Dell, Hewlett-Packard, are pretty similar companies, except Lenovo is centered in South Korea, but Dell and Hewlett-Packard are both US companies. And you notice here that Hewlett-Packard has 126 billion in sales, Dell has 61 billion in sales, and Lenovo has 16 billion in sales. So Hewlett-Packard is several times larger than Lenovo and twice the size of Dell. We divide each figure by total sales for that company. So for example, Lenovo's sales revenue, 16,605, divided by itself, just got to fix this mic here, is going to be 100%. 14,815 divided by 16,605 is 89.2%. 1790 divided by 16,605 is 10.8%. 1406 divided by 16,605 is 8.5%. You can just check your work as I do this. 214 divided by 16,605 is 1.3%. 34 divided by 16,605 is 0.2%. 136 divided by 16,605 is 0.8%. 41 divided by 16,605 is 0.3%, and there's a little rounding correction in there. 177 divided by 16,605 is 1.1%. 47 divided by 16,605 is 0.3%. And 130 divided by 16,605 is 0.8%. The non-recurring items are 0, so this is 0. And 130 divided by 16,605 is equal to 0.8%. And there you go. By Hewlett-Packard, 126,033 divided by itself is 100%. Let me just make this a little smaller so that it fits there. 96,089 divided by 126,033 is 76.2%. 29,944 divided by 126,033 is 23.8%. 12,585 divided by 126,033 is 10%. 2959 divided by 126,033 is 2.3%. 2921 divided by 126,033 is 2.3%. 11,479 divided by 126,033 is 9.2%. And I put a little rounding adjustment in there so that everything would add up. Negative 505 divided by 126,033 is 0.4% negative. 10,974 divided by 126,033 is 8.8%. Again, there's a little rounding correction in there. 2213 divided by 126,033 is 1.8%. 8761 divided by 126,033 is 7%. 0 divided by anything is 0. And 8761 divided by 126,033 is equal to 7%. And I'm highlighting all these answers so that you can see what I filled in here. So the greatest amount of sales revenue was reported by, and I'm assuming that you figured this out, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. Greatest amount of sales revenue was reported here by Hewlett-Packard. And the greatest amount of net income was also reported by Hewlett-Packard, and you would expect that. Which company reported the highest ratio for gross profit margin? Now keep in mind that gross profit margin, remember the formula, is gross profit divided by sales. This is why you really need to know the formula, and it's not enough just to be able to look it up. Gross profit margin is equal to gross profit divided by sales revenue. So these figures here, this is gross profit margin for Lenovo. I'll highlight this. This is the gross profit margin for Dell, and this is the gross profit margin for Hewlett-Packard in purple, because it's gross profit divided by sales revenue, which is exactly what we did in the common size income statement. So here you can see the largest gross profit margin is Hewlett-Packard with 23.8%. Operating income as a percentage of sales, that would be this line right over here. And you can see the highest operating income as a percentage of sales is Hewlett-Packard's. Return on sales, and again, remember the formula. Return on sales is net income divided by sales. Return on sales. So the highest return on sales is the highest income as a percentage of sales, and I'll highlight this in a color so you can see what I'm talking about here. And you can see that the highest one was Hewlett-Packard. And what do you want? You want profitability ratios to be high. You might laugh at me, but some things you don't want to be high. You don't want a high debt ratio most of the time. The company reported greater percentage of expense for cost of goods sold. Let's see here. It's 89.2% for Lenovo, 81.5% for Dell, and 76.2% for Hewlett-Packard. So the greatest percentage of expense was for Lenovo. And that's considered unfavorable because costs are high. Regarding selling general administrative expenses, you can see it's 8.5% for Dell, 11.9%, I'm sorry, for Lenovo, 11.9% for Dell, and 10% for Hewlett-Packard. So which company has the greatest percentage of expense for SG&A? The answer is Dell. And this is considered unfavorable because, again, higher costs decrease net income. Now let's look at R&D. If you notice here, R&D is 1.3% for Lenovo, 1% for Dell, and 2.3% for Hewlett-Packard. So the highest percentage of R&D is Hewlett-Packard's. And that is considered favorable because high R&D is going to lead to new products and increased sales. And which company remained the #1 direct sale computer vendor? It's actually Dell. If you look it up in the appendix, you can see, refer to Appendix A, is actually Dell.